Welcome to Eviliv3, the live media commentary show that answers the question, are we alone in the universe? Subscribe if you're new to the channel because today we are reacting to Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day official teaser. I would like to take a moment and thank the YouTube members and Patreon patrons and invite you to consider becoming a member or patron. Links are in the description below. All right, so we're going to be looking at, Steven Spielberg's newest trailer and just sort of reacting to it and just riffing a little bit. Now, Steven Spielberg is, of course, known as an incredible filmmaker from E.T., Close Encounters. I mean, his Jurassic Park. I mean, his list goes on and on and on and on and on. So we don't really have to talk about him or whether or not he's going to do a good job. This is a bit of a passion project for him. So I'm really interested in the intent behind this and why now. Is it just building on the existing hype of all the UAP releases in Congress? And is it, just him wanting to stretch his narrative legs? Or is he actually pulling information from sources, again, leaked sources, in order to make this a little bit more believable? So we'll get into it all. Let's watch the trailer, react, and then on the other side, have a bit of a conversation.
If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you?
Good morning, Kansas City. Let's take a look at today. Today's.
Is that like alien language?
People have a right to know the truth. It belongs to 7 billion people.
What is it?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. So I'm gonna show you.
What are you gonna do?
Full disclosure to the whole world.
Colin Firth.
All at once.
Huh.
People keep wondering,
Oh, that was cool. It was happening.
encountering the unknown.
They're coming! They're coming!
They are starved for the truth.
Do you think there could be others?
Why would he make such a vast universe? Yet save it only for us?
Because we dope. Okay. All right. First of all, super excited about this. It looks crazy. I just want to kind of go through a little bit of this because clearly the life on the planet is reacting to the awareness of whatever the disclosure is. This is starring Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, Colin Firth, Hewson, and Colman Domingo primarily. Of course, there's a bunch of other people. This is filmed by Steven Spielberg, his story. The screenplay is by David Cope, and it's going to be in theaters on, June 12th, 2026, released by Universal Pictures. And they're framing this as a new original event film. So this is supposed to be a big, bold move, akin to like Jurassic Park or Close Encounters of the Third Kind or something like that, where it's just like this massive film because of the subject matter and its impact on culture, on popular culture. And while the teaser here does not indicate anything crazy over the top, there are some very interesting points that it is sort of presenting that I think we can draw information from. First and foremost, we're looking at a bunch of animals reacting. There was I think he was a Chinese ambassador that said something like when he was in office, he spoke to aliens, and they said they won't communicate with humans until we are able to communicate with ants. And I think the source of all that was, until we can communicate with life on our planet in some way, we're not worth being able to communicate with anyone else, or anyone else isn't worth communicating with us until we can at least communicate with other life on this planet. And then we would be of interest. I mean, that's all just one person saying whatever the hell one person says. So, whatever credence you want to apply to it. For me, I think as a story beat, it's very interesting because, we saw a couple times where these animals are not just reacting, but they seem like this bird. It's in all the posters. The silhouette of a bird is in the posters. And so I think the idea is either this alien intelligence is possessing forms and communicating with humans through those forms, whether they're animals or humans, like we'll see here in a minute. Or I'm actually going to go out on a limb and say Emily Blunt's character is a human alien hybrid of some sort, or she's like this embedded alien that she's unaware of, and she is sort of like woken, like a Manchurian Candidate or something like that, like woken once aliens are ready to communicate or make their presence known or something to that effect, or some great event is going to occur. And so I think, once disclosure is ready to be revealed to the world in the film, then maybe that's when all these people and animals who are either possessed or are, sort of embedded aliens, then they sort of activate. And so I think they're just showcasing that with the animals, and that they're ready to communicate, or they're reacting to an alien on the other side of that. So these family members, like the daughter and the mother, they have embedded aliens or something like that inside of them, and that's what the animals are reacting to. Especially this part right here where she starts just freezing and talking in this like weird clicking language, like throat, like sort of thing. I do think that that's probably some sort of language that the aliens are either activating her with, or activating some sort of embedded alien entity within her. And when I'm talking about aliens, I'm actually going above and beyond just the little green men idea. I'm talking about like interdimensional beings. He's already done the aliens coming down, and maybe this is like part 2 of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where the humans that went off with the aliens in Close Encounters of the Third Kind at the end are the ones coming back. And that they're the ones that are going to be that sort of disclosure of them revealing themselves. Like, no, we were taken by the aliens back, in the 80s. And now we're back, and this is what we're experiencing, or this is what we did experience, or this is what the messages they want us to share, or whatever. So it could be a part 2, or it could be its own sort of intimate interdimensional story. But I do think it's above and beyond the idea of like little green men. That could get really irritating if it's overused. Do you mean the vocalizations? Because if that's what you're talking about, I totally agree. Hey, Victor, how you doing, man? Thanks for tuning in. So I'm really excited about that possibility, that this is some sort of like possession of some interdimensional being within these mortal forms of ours, these chemical machines that we sort of inhabit. And I love that idea. And I've been getting into like, especially this past year, and really it started last year and it's sort of bleeding into this year much more, because I've always liked ancient history and stuff, but the idea of aliens, while I'm interested and I want to believe, it was never something that I went down crazy rabbit holes with. These past 2 years, I've started to go down crazy rabbit holes, which it really just goes in some wacky directions. But because of that, I'm really excited for this, because we've had a whole bunch of like actual disclosure information lately from government sources. And maybe those are all psyops. Maybe it's all a big lie to hide some other great thing that the government is doing behind our backs that we don't know about. That's a possibility. But if you just take it at face value, then what if we're not alone? What if they are waiting on some event to communicate with us? What if? And it becomes very, very interesting to me at that point. Would it make it better or worse for you if the culmination of this film was that whatever we're encountering is what set us up for life on this planet or even made us? I'm not afraid of that idea. I think that would be an interesting idea. It's not my favorite sort of go-to theory, but I do think that the building blocks of life have been, panspermia, I believe, is how we actually evolved on this planet. And so whether those were intentionally set out or manipulated before they were sent out, or if we just naturally occurred through chaos, whatever the case, I think they're all interesting theories. And I'm totally open to enjoying a film that's based on one or the other of them, because it's not gonna make me enjoy it any less. I mean, this is a stellar filmmaker putting this together with he's got a story he wants to tell, and it's going to be a huge deal. So I'm pretty excited to see what direction it goes in. I'm not married to one direction, I guess, is my point. This is interesting because he's watching her freak out as we're actively watching a crop circle appear around him. I want to sort of find that because I thought that was really cool. Come on, where are you? Come on, crop circle. There it is. So if we're just going to start from this point and just go on, look at it appearing.
People keep wondering.
So as if he is not being affected, like the crop circle sign is being made from external sources, or he's on a different plane of existence than whatever's making that. There's a whole lot of interdimensional stuff that's happening right now in the sort of UFO, I hate using the word community, but fan base. And it's always been there, but shows like Skinwalker Ranch really sort of elevate this interdimensional idea. And even some of our representatives in the government have overtly said interdimensional and the idea of them being angels or demons and bullshit like that. And I think that comes from their own, worldview, and that's why they use that vernacular. But it does bring up some very interesting questions about these creatures or these entities that are capable of doing things that we cannot fathom, and we're just ants to them. And so maybe that's the other sort of parallel. We have to learn to communicate with other animals because we are the same separation from animals to us as these aliens are to us. And if they're so advanced that they can't communicate with us directly because we're so primitive, then maybe by us learning how to communicate with our primitive other animals on this planet, then we would then be able to understand, or at least get to the stepping point of being able to understand them. You know what I mean? We always pretend like open dialogue and communication is the only way to communicate. But what if it's not? What if we just haven't been able to tap into that part of our brain that allows us, whether it's like psychokinesis or telepathy or ESP or something like that, or we haven't evolved to that point or been able to tap into it. And that's what they're waiting on. And that would then allow us to communicate with other animals through emotional communication. I find it all just very, very fascinating. Information space. The Lovecraftian perspective of significance. I mean, there's the idea that we are totally insignificant and that they're coming here for resources or some other reason. One thing that I'm hoping they don't do, like some of the theories that I've shared in the past, is come down and be in the film and communicate like, okay, we're like a council of aliens and we're here to just let you know that we've been keeping our eye on you and there's other bad guys that we're trying to protect you from. I don't want that idea. I just want a species to interface with our species. Like, that's the extent that I like. I mean, stuff like Contact, the film Contact, was brilliant, and it presented that idea of a whole series of interdimensional beings. But the film didn't really grapple with that. It was more the novel that really got into that minutia. I really like the more isolated, intimate versions of it, as long as it doesn't end up like signs where the aliens are coming down and to a planet that's covered 80% in water, and their one weakness is water. Like, that's the stupidest fucking thing I ever heard in my life. So that was a shit film. But if it's sort of similar to that, as in we're getting that first disclosure day and that is the trigger for them to reveal themselves, then I'm here for it. Okay, so we've got that, which is fascinating. Her just sort of losing it. And everyone, I think this is the disclosure part, not her at her news desk or weather desk. Like, this is probably when the truth is being revealed to everyone. And especially to these religious nut jobs. And look, believe whatever religion you want. I don't care. But if the revelation that there is existence outside of humanity that can travel the stars and communicate destroys your entire religion, well, then your religion's pretty simplistic and bullshit to begin with. And Christianity, or Abrahamic religions specifically, I would argue, while they are on their sort of Gnostic side, the mysticism side of things, like the genesis of the Abrahamic tradition is very much available to accept the idea of these extra dimensional beings. And some aspects of Abrahamic faiths embrace that idea. But the Catholic Church, for example, I can't imagine them like embracing aliens and trying to convert them. I mean, it would reveal how bullshit it all is. And I sort of welcome that idea, because fuck them. So he clearly has information that he's trying to disclose, and he's the trigger for all of this, right? Is that... Oh, that's Colin Firth. That looks a little bit like, oh gosh, what's his name? That Latin actor that's in everything right now. He's in The Last of Us and Mandalorian and Fantastic Four. I can't remember his name right now. Yeah, like right here, she's like freaking out about these birds. I think she's making some connection. And in Colin Firth's character, he is clearly in some sort of scientific, like, studying zone, but he's clearly got something inside of him right here. And so does Emily Blunt. So again, here's the question. Are their pupils dilating super big and they're just showing the reverse of that because they're witnessing something or they're getting some sort of form of communication? Or is it literally saying that, no, these are aliens and they've been here the whole time? And there's like a whole alien Pedro Pascal, thank you, Victor. And there's a whole species of these alien hybrids, because her eyes are going from blue to brown. The signs thing. This is interesting right here. I'm not sure. I see things in patterns. I mean, we all do. That's how our brains have evolved. But does that, I can't point over to it, but does that sweat stain on the ceiling look like a human sort of like standing like that to you? Because that's what it looks like to me, straight up. Like a human with its head tilted down, but its arms hanging in weird position. Again, it's just our brains recognizing patterns. And check this out. Same shot. Blonde-haired girl in the middle turns into Emily Blunt as this guy walks past. So check this.
The unknown.
Single shot, no changes. She shapeshifts. So that tells me we saw her eyes shapeshift. She's facing off with Colin Firth's character, who his eyes shapeshifted when he was strapped in that science chair. I think they're both aliens, and they're recognizing each other. And maybe, again, that interdimensional being within them is causing this to happen. But, it's sort of like in X-Files. I've been going through like all the X-Files again. I went through the whole first season. I'm on the second season again. I just love rewatching those old things. But they eventually introduced black ooze, and the black ooze would take over, black oil they called it. It would take over your body. And it was just like this alien entity that crashed onto the planet and lay dormant in the ice caps. And very similar to sort of like The Thing or something like that, but not as monstrous and horror based. So anyway, that could also be the situation where they've just had this DNA in them, or maybe it's part of our DNA and it's just the chromosomes haven't unlocked until a certain celestial event happens or whatever. But they're clearly able to transform because we just witnessed it right here. Not only their irises, but also their bodies. And I find that super cool. I mean, just the fact that I'm breaking this down like this and I'm interested, like, yes, please. So look at some of these images over here. And if you can, I know it's tiny here, but if you can blow it up at any point, to me, it looks like there's some UFOs in here, like traditional UFO saucer-shaped objects. And I don't know if this is like cameras around the world, you know, that sort of like Independence Day, watching all the ships rolling in at different, you know, locations around the planet. But I mean, it certainly looks like the type of a room where this is like a military command center with a bunch of, you know, TV stations like news outlets or camera controls. And what the fuck? So she drove right through that house, running away. What is that hanging off the end of that first, out of the passenger, or I mean the driver's seat? Is that a bag? Oh, that's something. Oh, it's wood. Okay. And I don't know who this person is. Do you think this is another version of Emily Blunt? And this right here is what makes me think of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Because this was the closing scene. You know, like walking up with the aliens. This makes you think of Tobe Hooper's Life Force with less practical effects. I've never seen Life Force, I don't think. That's interesting. It makes you think of those wax statues they had in Japan where people walking around after the nuclear attack with their skin dropping off their arms. Oh, that's brutal. Oh, that's hardcore. Of course, this whole sentiment that she says in this, where she's like, why would God... Well, let's just listen.
He makes such...
Why would he make such...
a vast universe.
A vast universe.
Yet save it only for us.
Yet save it only for us. Yeah, so she's accepting that there are, in fact, aliens out there or other intelligences out here. This is interesting in her hand. Is this what causes her to shift? And is this group what that series of car chases, of cars that were chasing the lead car, is this right before that happened? Like they made contact and then the government came chasing them? I mean, it looks like a thriller, you know? And this is very, very akin to like M. Night Shyamalan type stuff, you know? And which I'm not averse to as long as the story makes sense. This looks like a Christmas movie to me. Santa's going to come walking out of the front door. But look, she was clearly led here by the animals. Oh, shit. What if that girl is Emily Blunt as a kid? And this is how she becomes like possessed or interbred or connected to the other entities. They live in this house. Or this house is like the mirage of a spaceship or something, you know? That would be interesting. I bet that's where the kid comes in. Because we don't see the kid with anyone else, do we? Hold on. I'm going to have my theory just blown in the water, out of the water here. Because I think there is a point where they're at the table. Right. So hold on. I think that's Emily Blunt. So that's a dude. My stupid head's in the way. Hold on a second. So that's a dude and that's Emily Blunt. Okay. So this is her seeing that bird again, probably for the first time since she was a kid. And so I bet you money this is what triggers her to get those powers or to awaken that Manchurian alien entity in her or something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, man. I'm excited for this. This looks very, very cool to me. All right, so I want to go back to the end so we can close this out. All right, so we still have like 6 months to go. So it's, we've got some time for speculation. And this is just a teaser. This isn't even an actual trailer yet. And so once the trailer drops, we're going to know a whole lot more. But let me ask you, are you interested in seeing this now that you've seen the teaser? Is this something that you would like to go out and stand out in front of the theater and watch? I'm sorry, stand out in the theater waiting for a seat to watch. Because, these big event films only come around. I think the last, another one of them was that Tom Hanks, where he was stranded on an island for a while. I can't remember the name of it. Castaway, which I desperately loved as well. But, every few years or so, 5 years to 10 years, we get these big, massive films that just sort of emotionally shake the popular cultural zeitgeist. This could very well be one because it's on the heels of all these disclosure disclosure about aliens or UAPs from the government. And so it'll ride that hype train for the next 6 months and then just blow people out of the water with other, sort of reveals that whatever the movie is suggesting from reveals. So do you think this is a sequel to Close Encounters? Do you think Emily Blunt's character has some sort of interdimensional entity within her, or she is somehow clued into the aliens because of these animals? And ultimately, are they clued into the aliens as well and communicating with Emily Blunt? Or are those just aliens in disguise, like that house? Is it just an alien ship in disguise? Let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you so much for tuning in live, Victor. Appreciate you. And for the rest of you, feel free to leave any comments in the comment section below. I would love to hear what you have to say about this. Ultimately, thank you to creator patron Aaron Hardy, producer patron Azrael, and developer patron Chris Androu. As always, like it or not, evil spelled backwards is live. So get out there and be evil.